What's up, fellow theorists? Welcome back to Theory Hammer, and welcome to our TACTICA series. These are going to be some shorter videos where we discuss the strengths and weaknesses of a faction, some of the individual units that the faction wants to use. We're going to go over points, we're going to go over why those are useful, how they help the army do what it's trying to do, how they're just good units for gameplay, and so on. If a Forge World unit for the faction is good, expect us to talk about it here. I'm not going to go into too much detail about what each faction is trying to do because at the end of the day, they're all trying to do the same thing in different ways. And I'm also not an expert on every army, so if I do miss anything, be sure to let me know down below. Reroll all your hits versus the like button, subscribe to Theory Hammer for more, hit Nurgle's bell icon, we make content regularly, and check out our other videos as well. We got more coming and we're constantly trying to improve the content. The Tau are very straightforward. They move and they shoot. It's like, oh, you're on the objective? I'm going to shoot you off the objective, and I'm going to try to move on to it myself. So it just wants to shoot. Its army rule and its detachment rule both revolve around shooting. It's very mobile. It has a lot of deep striking units, at least the best units have deep strike, and has fly on like basically everything. It's got access to a lot of decent units. It has access to large volumes of shooting. It's got a lot of lone ops. Generally speaking, it's a pretty durable army. You got a lot of toughness 6, toughness 5, toughness 10 vehicles, 4-up invulns, lots of wounds, things like that. Some of the weaknesses, though, is that your army rule is really weird. It turns on after turn 3, which is pretty bad. Most of your units are vehicles. That means you're giving up secondaries very easily. Means you can shoot into combat, but generally you want to be moving around the table. Your detachment rule, like I said, is just garbage. It turns on turn 3, so I can't get behind that. It's very one-dimensional. It just wants to shoot and move. It has 0 combat output and just a couple of good strats and enhancements. It has like one trick, which is the move, shoot, move thing, you know, when the suits move around. So that's the only thing that I can really think of that is tricky about them. There's some that will catch somebody off guard, but even that is not really like a trick. So if you can think of any cool tricks, put them in the comments down below. So with the Tau Empire, this is what you need to know. They have one good enhancement. It's the cheapest one, it's the best one. It's the one you're going to take, you can ignore all the other ones. While the bear is leading a unit, he gives them the detachment rule from the second battle round instead of the third. We already talked about it, it's the auto take. The stratagems that you care about are strike and fade. It lets you move your unit of battlesuits after they shoot. So they move 18, shoot something dead, move it 12. Coordinated to engage. This is when you can pick one of your guided units, and it can also become guided. So this is what it says. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes an attack that targets their spotted unit, improve the ballistic skill characteristic of that attack by 1, and if your unit has the marker-like keyword, that attack has the ignores cover ability. So the target of this is one Tau Empire unit from your army that has just been selected as an observer unit. So normally observer units wouldn't be able to get this benefit, but it gives it to both. So a little trick to these breachers is going to be the point blank ambush. So for 90 points, plus your character, plus this stratagem, you can get plus 1 AP. The only shitty restriction is that you can't use this in the first or second battle round. I don't fucking know why they wrote that in there. I don't think they did either, but that makes it kind of meh. So there you go. You have these photon grenade things. So your opponent that's 4 inches away from you after they moved or -2 to their charge. That's what this does. You target one Tau Empire grenade unit from your army that was selected as the target of a charge from an enemy unit. The enemy unit must take a battle shock test, and then till the end of the phase, they subtract 2 from charge rolls that they make. And then you got combat embarkation. This is actually pretty useful, I guess, if your unit somehow survives. But if you're playing the game properly, that can be done. You can isolate an area of the table and just wipe everything out so that you're relatively safe in that area for a turn. And what this does is in your opponent's charge phase, just after an enemy unit declares a charge, you pick up one of your Tau Empire infantry units and put it back into its devilfish. Your only restriction there is that you have to be within 3 inches of the transport, and obviously the transport has to have the capacity for you. But overall, there's really not a lot of like tricky trick stuff. And I didn't even talk about stim injectors. It gives you a 6-up feel no pain, and that's it. So wasn't that nice and short and sweet? We don't gotta talk too much about that because, like I said, this entire time, this is all guns and no brakes, baby. There are no tricks. It just shoots you. Surprising to, I guess, maybe just me, the Tau have a lot of good units. If you watched our other review where we went over their index, A lot of their units I said were complete shit, which a lot of them are. But some of them are included here because they're actually not. Because I'm just being sarcastic sometimes. You never know, I keep you guessing. So we're gonna start off with ShadowSun. She's a lone op, she has stealth, she's -1 to be wounded, she gives out reroll 1s, she has really good shooting, she moves 10, she's got fly and infantry, and she gives out that reroll 1s aura so you can get around everywhere. It's very rare to have a reroll 1s aura in this edition, and on a 5+, she gets command points back. She's got 2 fusion blasters at a strength 10, and a couple of other guns. She's just great. She's only 100 points. Like, she's an auto take in every Tau army, no matter what it is. Farsight is another good one. He's cheap, 90 points. And he can fly around, give you +1 to wound if you're within 9, and that's pretty good. It's just that he doesn't do what a Cold Star does, and Cold Stars are really, really good. They're the next thing that we're going to talk about, because they really help your army do what it wants to do, which is move around, and it gives you the ability to do that very, very well. Cold Stars are 110 though. They are auto takes. If you're taking crisis suits in your army, you're gonna put a Cold Star with them probably, or you're gonna put, I keep wanting to call him ShadowSun. Farsight. He has the sight of a far person. That guy, it's either him or a Cold Star. They're leading the crisis suits. They're auto takes. They're really good. This is what they do. The Cold Star can take 4 different weapons, or 4 of the same weapons, and he's safe in a squad of suits, so you can just take quad cyclic ion blasters on him, as long as the unit has them as well, because then you're not just tanking them on the character. He gives the units that he's with assault and a 12-inch move. So they are flying around the table with an 18-inch move, shooting you with stuff. And there's 6 of them in the squad, plus the commander if you want to go hardcore on that unit, and it just kills anything it shoots at. It's really good, but it's also your only target for the enhancement that you have, which is the only enhancement that you have, which is also good, which is that your army rule turns on from turn 2 instead of turn 3. So this unit from turn 2, which is when things really start getting cool, this will just kill stuff. It's just an output piece, it has really no tricks, he just helps the unit kill stuff. Another very good unit for the Tau, in a very different way, is Aun'Va. He's actually hilarious. He's got lone op, he has -1 to hit, and he does not have stealth, like he's just always -1 to hit. He's -1 to wound all the time, has a 4-up invuln, he's 65 points, and there's 2 wound bodyguards with him. Aun'Va has 5 wounds. So once per game, when you allocate a hit to them, they can get a 2-up invuln. So it's just great backfield unit for objectives, or just to like try to bubble people out. It's also a great road bump unit if you really need to like slow a unit down and just tarp hit something for a turn or 2. He will do it. As long as they don't have dev wounds, he'll do it. Like he'll jump in front of an Imperial Knight and be like, what's up? I have a 2-up invuln, you cannot kill me, and you're -1 to hit me, -1 to wound me. So you're hitting me on 4s, wounding me on 3s. Like, get out of here. He's just got a lot of utility, so he's really durable, he's lone op, you actually have to commit him to kill him. A lot of the time it's just not going to be worth it, and he's just going to be really disruptive and really annoying. So he's really good at playing the game. I love Aun'Va. I fit him in every list that I can for 65 points. He's just great. One that I don't fit in every list is Longstrike, though. He's a vehicle character guy. He's got a railgun. He's hitting on 2s with it almost all the time if he's being guided. He gets +1 to hit monsters and vehicles, but he hits on 3s normally. So if you guide him, he's hitting on 2s. He gets to reroll a hit or a wound. He does something else. He gives a hammerhead within 6 lethal hits. So if you're taking an ion head, kind of like a little wingman, he gives that guy lethal hits, which is pretty sweet. He's only 140 points. It's pretty good. Moves 10, T10, 14 wounds. Not bad. A really reliable gun with a railgun. It's like strength 20, AP 5, and 6 plus D6 with dev wounds. It's only 1 shot, but hitting on 2s again with a reroll hit and a wound. So it's going to consistently hit and wound, which is really nice to have. Hammerheads in general are pretty good. We'll get to them, but he's a little bit more expensive. He's 10 more points, so I mean, for that extra bit of ballistic skill and his ability, it's probably worth it. And he can also pick up 2 seeker missiles, so when he does pop his head out, he'll probably kill whatever he's shooting at. Crisis suits, they're just, it's funny, because half the stuff in the Tau Codex is just like, I'm going to kill you as fast as possible, and the other half is I'm going to do absolutely nothing and just look at you. This is one of the units that looks at you and kills you, and they're the crisis suits. They're one of the best units in your index. 200 points. Generally, this is what they're gonna have. 3 guns, a shield, and 2 shield drones, so 2 extra wounds. You get 6 wounds, a 4 invuln, and then 3 guns. Now, this does like most of the damage in your army, but you have to play kind of smart with them. You don't want them to get tied up, even though they can shoot out of combat, because you want them moving around. And they also need support so that they can do stuff, like you don't want things deep striking on them to charge them. You need Tetras to give them reroll hits. Tau in general are hard to play, and this is one of those units that puts a lot of eggs in one basket, especially with the way that Tau's army works, where they pick a unit and they pick another unit, and one of those units gets +1 ballistic skill. This unit just puts out so much damage, and it's like 400-ish points, almost 500-ish points, where if you shoot one thing, yeah, you're gonna kill it, but you've just dedicated 500 points to it, and almost always, especially with a 6-man unit with like cyclic ion blasters, it's complete overkill. The problem with your army rule is that if you want to split fire and try to kill multiple things, it penalizes you and it makes you -1 to hit at your non-guided target. So they have this weird army ability that's got a weird dichotomy with how they really want to play. So whatever. These are really good either way. They just kill stuff. They're really durable for their points. They're fast as hell. There are vehicles. They can shoot in and out of combat. They're pretty good. Lately, I've switched to plasma. I just can't mentally handle like 1.5 of my guys blowing up every time I shoot with the unit. I just can't do it anymore. We're switching to plasma. They have a better range, whatever. I know it's worse. I understand that. You know it's not worse? Me getting extremely fucking angry because a bunch of my suits keep killing themselves, giving my opponent points in my fucking turn. Fuck that shit. No more of that. Another great unit is going to be stealth suits. These are really good because they have infiltrate and they have stealth, so they're -1 to hit. They're only 60 points. I think they just come with the marker light keyword, but if you give them the drone, they can advance and still give out a marker light, which is awesome. So do that. The sergeant can fall back and shoot with his fusion blaster because you can give it to anyone in the unit. When they guide something, gives you reroll 1s to wound. I think it's the only source of reroll 1s to wound in the index, but there you go. There you have it. Stealth suits. And then once per game, you can bring a unit down with rapid ingress for 0 CP, as long as they're within 3 inches of this unit, and not wholly within, just within 3. So, kind of funny on certain things. It's meant to be used on your crisis suits, but you can use it on a Tigershark, and you can put the Tigershark somewhere safe, and then actually kill stuff with it, because the Tigershark, which I'll talk about in a second, is only 275 points. Stealth suits, though, they're not 275 points. They're only 60. They're just great. They have infiltrate. They're -1 to hit. They're a marine profile with 2 wounds, 3 up save, all that cool stuff. They're good. Take them. They'll do good stuff for you. They'll give you reroll 1s to wound on your Tigershark. And they're also really good for doing secondaries. Now, flyers, we just got to get this out there. I don't think in any of my other Tactica videos that I'm releasing, I talk about any other flyer except for the Tigershark. That's not true. The Astra Militarum, there is one. So wait for that video and you'll know what it is. The Tigershark is the only other one because it's only 275 points and it actually just kills them, like whatever it shoots at. It's actually hilarious. It's got 2 railguns on it instead of 1. So it's 2 shots at strength 20, AP 5, D6 plus 6 damage with deb wounds. It has 6 seeker missiles. It has 2 burst cannons. It has 2 missile pods, and it has 2 Sky Spear missile racks, which are strength 6, AP 1, damage 1, D6 plus 1 shots each with blast. Anti-fly 3 up, so it's wounding anything with fly, which is a lot of things, on 3s. So this thing just comes in with rapid ingress probably, and put it somewhere safe, and somewhere your opponent didn't expect a flyer to be, and so it's not going to get move blocked next turn, because you get to move it. Also, another thing with the flyers, buildings, because Games Workshop is really stupid, they made the vertical distance count, so you can use that to your advantage and fly over like 8-inch walls. That's a 16-inch move, plus like however long the wall is. 16.25-inch move. So you only have to move like 4 inches from where you started when you're moving over buildings and stuff, because fly is really stupid this edition. So, hey, there you go. Something you didn't know before you watched this video. Getting back to my point though, these things come in, they go, oh, hi, big target of really cool stuff. Here's 2 railguns. Here's 2 Sky Spears. Here's 6 seeker missiles. I'm +1 to hit. I'm re-rolling 1s because ShadowSun's near me, and I'm re-rolling 1s to wound. Roll it up. you'll kill anything you shoot at except, you know, like a Terminator squad or something. It doesn't have the output to kill a whole lot of bodies, but it will kill an Imperial Knight. It'll kill a whatever. It'll kill a big target that you need to kill. Again, 275. Now, it's no slouch. It's T11 with 18 wounds and a 5-up invuln. Tigersharks, people. You tell me. Are they good? Are they bad? I don't know. I think we should talk about Ghostkeels, though. Because Ghostkeels are also a very weird unit that I love. They're 160 points. They have lone op, they have stealth. They can fall back and shoot without penalty, and then twice per game they can blank damage to 0. So it's a great backfield unit with lone op. It also has infiltrate. It's a 10-inch move with fly. Doesn't have infantry, of course. It's a monster. But it does fly, and it moves 10. You kind of have to commit to one to kill it. It does have a 2-up save. No invuln, but T8, 2-up save with 12 wounds. Like, it's not like 10 wounds, it's 12. It's a weird unit, like I'm saying. The thing about it is that it's great at doing secondaries, it's great at holding your backfield, it's great at taking up space and like preventing people from deep striking near you, like those utility type things. Its damage should be better than it is, but it just never does anything. It has 6 shots at strength 8 AP2 flat 3 damage, because you're always going to overcharge it, and that's the gun you're going to take, I think. It's the one I take. And it just never does anything. But it's 160 points, and people go after them, and they usually don't kill them unless they put way more into it than 160 points, and I feel like that's usually a win. And you can use them to draw people out into bad positions because they really want to kill this Ghostkeel for some reason, this Ghostkeel that like literally never fucking does any damage. But for some reason people really like killing them, and so you can kind of use that against them. But overall, I think they're pretty good at playing the game. You can keep them pretty safe. You can be aggressive with them with infiltrate if you need to be. You can do some cool stuff there. So generally speaking, I do like the Ghostkeel. I think you run at least 2 of them, no matter what your list is. It's just, I know, it's hard to justify putting over 300 points of models in your army that you don't get much of like a damage return on. But at the end of the day, the game is about getting points. So if they're getting you points, they don't need to be doing you damage. If they're getting in the way of something and they're just being like blank that damage, cool, I tied you up for a turn, that's probably a good thing too. So something we touched on earlier was the Hammerhead when I was talking about Longstrike. It's the same exact profile as Longstrike with the exception that it doesn't give out lethal hits. Its weapons are only BS4, like all of them are BS4. Some of Longstrike weapons are BS4, but his railgun's a 3. So the Hammerhead is a 4, but it's still hitting on 2s if it's targeting a monster or vehicle, because it gets +1 to its hit roll if it's targeting a monster or vehicle, and if you're guiding it, it gets +1 to its ballistic skill, which are 2 different characteristics that are being changed. You have a characteristic modifier and a dice modifier, which do stack. So it hits on 2s, it rerolls a hit and a wound, or one or the other. Pretty good, you know? T10, 14 wounds, 10-inch move, has some underguns, takes some missiles. What do you want? It's 130 points. It's great. And so is the Skyray, because it's also the same chassis, T10, 14 wounds, 10-inch move, all that's the same. It's also only 130 points. It can't take seeker missiles, which kind of bugs me, but it shoots 3 of them every turn just as its main gun. So strength 14, AP 3, D6 +1 damage with 3 shots. It's got the same stuff as the Hammerhead, and I think it has an extra thing. It gets like +1 to hit against fly. I do know that it rerolls a hit or wound, just like the Hammerhead does. So it's a great thing. It's a great supplement to the Hammerheads, because it's a little bit more shooting instead of only having that 1 shot. It also has the marker-like keyword, so if you do use it to guide something, it is going to give it the +1 to hit, which is pretty cool. Tetras are another unit you're going to take for guiding, but these things are just so good. They're 40 points apiece. You always take them in units at 2, so they're 80 points each. Toughness 7, 7 wounds, with a 4-up save. So they're a Piranha profile, which is the next unit I'm going to talk about. But the Tetras have infiltrate, they move 14, and if they guide something, they give it full rerolls to hit, which is pretty good when you combine that with the enhancement. It's like your only trick. You combine this with your enhancement that lets your squad of suits turn on a turn earlier. That squad of suits now gets sustained hits too, and full rerolls to hit. And with enough shots, it just kills anything in the game. So Tetras, really, really good unit. Just everything about him's good. Having infiltrate is great, because you can make first turn walls. You can just get to positions that your opponent doesn't want you to get to. You can get to objectives faster. There's a lot of benefits to having it. People play with it wrong a lot of the time, I believe, where they infiltrate things too aggressively because you do it not knowing who's going to go first and that unit just dies. But if your army's constructed in a certain way, your infiltrators should actually be more of an annoyance to your opponent rather than some sort of aggressive unit. Unless your army's trying to do that kind of thing where it just like has a bunch of really aggressive kind of good units that want to get up close fast anyway and not just do utility things like a Tetra may. So the Piranha is kind of like a Tetra. The Piranha is 55 points. It has Scout 9. It does a weird thing wherein, I think it's in your shooting phase, it just picks a unit within 12 and they take a battle shock test. It might be at the end of your movement phase, so basically at the same time. But either way, pick a unit within 12, battle shock test. Does not matter what it is. It can also take 2 Seeker missiles on it, so strength 14, AP 3, D6 plus 1 damage. Pretty good. They're great for secondaries, they're great for like turn 1 screening, they're just great. Take 3 of them. They're awesome. I've used them to just completely block off certain armies turn 1 and just been like, what are you gonna do? I basically time walked somebody with Piranhas. Some of you will get that. The Hounds are also really good. They're another utility unit here. They're not as good as Piranhas, but they're 30 points for 4. They move 12 and they do also Scout 9. So they're just cheap. They don't have an OC, which is a problem. Usually I just use them for turn 1 Scout 9 to create a wall. Like if I go first, I'm gonna scout them 9, they're gonna move 12 plus a d6, your turn. You move like 2 inches. Okay, cool, great. Recently though, I've switched just everything to Piranhas. I put Hounds in here because I think they're still a good unit and a good choice, but Piranhas are probably a better pick. The Kroot are arguably a swap for the Piranha. They scout 9, you get fucking 10 of them for 55 points. So they're 5.5 points each. They're also just great for secondaries, they're great for move blocking, they're great for playing the game. Playing the game is how you win the game. Killing all your opponent's stuff only works if you can do it in like 2 turns and not lose anything in the process. So Kroot, they help you play the game because they can scout up to objectives turn 1, considering the secondaries you may pull, or if you're trying to build a list that does tactical, like just trying to do cleanse and deploy teleport homers or something like that. Kroot are great for that because they're a real easy, cheap throwaway, here's my fucking point for the turn. Breachers, they're another battle line unit, but they're not like Kroot. They're not meant to get up there and die after they get you some points. Breachers are meant to get up there, kill something, and then die. Because what they do is they are only 90 points for 10 guys. They get rerolls wounds if you're shooting someone that's on an objective, and that's how you win games, in case you didn't know, is by having stuff on objectives. So when they shoot the things that you're using to win the game, they get to reroll their wounds, which is pretty good. They're ballistic skill 3 for some odd reason, so when you guide them, they hit on 2s. So that's pretty funny. And their gun's AP 1. So you guide their gun. It's AP 1, now it's ignoring cover, so it's basically AP 2. If you give the character to them, I think it's the Fireblade. I don't have him on my list here, but he's a cool thing to include for this squad. He gives them +1 to their shots, so they're gonna get 30 shots, hitting on 2s, with reroll 1s if you want ShadowSun nearby, with rerolling wounds and AP 2. So 90 points, 30 shots, strength 6 AP 2, basically. Seems like it's worth it to me. Generally, people that play with Breachers are going to use them with transports. You also have Pathfinders. Pathfinders are another good infiltrate, scout, secondary kind of unit. Probably arguably one of the better ones. There's so many good utility units with the Tau, which is a kind of a weird thing for them. A lot of armies, even like Space Marines, they don't have as many utility units. They may have as many, but for considering the difference in the amount of units between the two, Tau have probably one of the highest number of utility units in the game. So they should be winning like all the time. It's just that people really want to play with their units that kill a bunch of stuff because, let's be honest, that's what you want. That's why you're playing Warhammer. You're here to kill your opponent's army. But I could totally see a really weird Tau army that just has tons of like just random bullshit that just plays the game really well. Pathfinders, they give you infiltrate and they have scout 7. So that's kind of cool because you can kind of put them like midfield, scout them 7 up to 9 because you can't be with a 9 of your opponent's army, or scout them 7 away, hide them, and just a great unit. 10-man unit, you know, that's a great infiltrating unit that can scout, can make a huge wall. Just great. 90 points though, so they're kind of expensive, but they do get to guide 2 units. So if they do live, or if you put them in a place where you intend to use them as a guiding unit, they'll probably live, and they'll probably be able to guide 2 things, which isn't bad. I will mention broadsides, while they're on my mind. Maybe I'm just mentioning them because I love them and I want them to be good, but they're okay. They're only 90 points. They're toughness 6 they're going to end up with 10 wounds because you're going to take 2 shield drones. No invuln, but they have a 2-up save, and another vehicle, but they're going to have cover, right? Everything gets cover now. So it's got a 1-up save, all right? It's got a 1-up save and cover, 10 wounds. It's got 2 shots, strength 12, AP 4, D6 plus 1. It's D6 plus 1 or D6 plus 2. I want to say it's plus 1, but it's got dev wounds. The problem with these guys is that they're so fucking slow, it puts you to sleep. All right, by the time they get to the other side of the table, you've taken a nap and they've moved like 20 inches in like 5 turns. So that's not great. They can move 25 inches in 5 turns. Most of the table is 24 inches away from your opponent, so put these in reserve if you take them, is basically what I'm saying. Put them in reserve, come out of reserve with a railgun, and try to kill stuff that way. I just want to say, Tau, like I said in the beginning of the video, are very difficult to play competitively. And not to say that their army hasn't been a competitive army, it's to say that because they're missing a lot of aspects of the game, it really takes, frankly, better players to play them at high levels. I'm not saying I'm one of them. I've played them at higher levels before in other editions, but the thing that good players are going to do to you are things that you're not going to expect the average Tau player to do. They're going to charge with things, or they're going to really efficiently use their units in a way that you didn't expect, or they're going to do some shenanigans with blocking you off with walls to keep a certain unit safe. Like, they're going to do like good player things to make it so that they can amplify the army's strengths. So it's a difficult army to play. It's not really like a surgical army, which is something that we'll get to in some of the other reviews. Some of the other armies play very surgically, where you must absolutely kill what you're going after, but they'll usually do it. We'll get into all that stuff. But that's how this army plays. It's not easy to play, and it feels bad a lot of the times because it sometimes feels like you're getting overwhelmed by all this combat stuff, and it sometimes just feels like you don't have the firepower to deal with it, or just because of the way your army works, where it gives you +1 to hit against one specific target. Well, sometimes you need to kill 2 or even 3 targets to really make sure that you're going to win the game. So it can be overwhelming sometimes, it can be hard to play, but at the end of the day, it's a fun army to play. Everyone has one in their basement. Nobody likes playing them. Nobody likes playing against them. It's just a weird dichotomy. Tau are always going to be one of those armies that just is very hard to balance because of the way that they work fundamentally. So you've really got to know how to understand your deficits so that you can play the best games possible. That's part of the reason why nobody likes them. And I say that facetiously. So people love Tau. I love Tau. They're just, nobody likes playing them. It's a frustrating game every time. If you're up against them, you're always like, God damn it, I went second and I just lost. If you're playing with them, you're like, God damn it, I couldn't kill the thing I needed to kill and I lost. So, coming from a lot of experience here, right? That's all I got. That's going to be the end of this Tactica for Tau. I don't know if it's a Tactica. Is it a Tactica? I'm going to call it a Tactica. That's what you clicked on. You clicked on a Tactica video for Tau. They're going to shoot, they're going to move around, they're going to be more durable than you expect them to be. You're going to say it has how many wounds? A lot. If you don't know what they do, you're going to go, that does what? You're going to go, they get sustained hits too? There's a lot of, if you've never played Tau, there's going to be a lot of times when you're like, this does what? After you play them a few times though, you're going to see how they play, and you're going to understand that they struggle against a lot of things. They struggle against really, really aggressive stuff, and it just depends on how your opponent plays with them, and it depends on what your opponent's army is. I'm thinking a mixed army is probably the best one, like 2 Ghostkeels, Longstrike, and a Hammerhead, like an Ion head with him, just to get lethal hits on the Ion, 2 Skyrays, 2 units of Tetras, 2 units or 3 units of single Piranhas, and a unit of 6 suits with ShadowSun, and Aun'Va, of course. How can you forget Aun'Va? He's like the best thing in the game. So, it's pretty much the army I'm going to run. I'm going to go over an army list itself, so check out that video whenever I release that. It'll probably be in a couple of weeks after watching this one. So until then, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and check out our other videos because we got all kinds of cool stuff, and we're going to be releasing new content regularly. That's all I got for you today. Check out our next Tactica video in the series, and I will see you guys in the next one.